What's up, YouTube? I went ahead and got my vaccine today, as you can see. Let's go ahead and bust that shoulder out there. You can see that front delt. We can see the medial, nice and defined, right? We can see that rear delt. And we can see this nice big Band-Aid on here. So I went ahead and got my vaccine done. Oh, was there a vaccine drive? No, because it's just now starting to be fall. And I went ahead and I asked for the quadrivalent vaccine. This is something I research every year. Go ahead and make sure the manufacturer I like is making the vaccine. There are several ways they make the quadrivalent vaccine. Some years it's egg albumin or albumin. They're beginning to use a liver method where we have liver cells for people who have sort of egg allergies. Now there's a trivalent vaccine and there's a quadrivalent vaccine, and it's important to know the difference. Most children and the general population, the elderly, will receive the trivalent vaccine this year because I'm always susceptible to the flu, just because personally I always seem to get the flu if I don't get vaccinated. And because I work in a gym, because I'm a personal trainer, I'm almost guaranteed to get the flu. So I get the vaccine. Plus, my wife works around small children because she's a teacher, and I have 3 small girls, and they bring home everything under the sun. I'll get it if I don't get the vaccine. So we went ahead and got the vaccine, and I wanted to talk about sciencism versus actual applied science, right? So, sciencism is sort of the fanboyism of science. These are people who do not use science. They're usually sort of dim-witted. They don't really understand science. They just know they like science, and they want to be seen as the kind of person who likes science, right? These are people who like watching The Big Bang Theory, a show whose audience was designed to be the same audience as Everybody Loves Raymond, as Seinfeld, right? Anytime you have a major show, it's the same audience watching the show. So you would know more, try to convince someone you love science because you watch The Big Bang Theory, than you would convince someone you love science because you watch Seinfeld. It's the same audience. It's the everybody audience. So we will see people, they'll wear shirts that say like EMC squared, or whatever. But at the end of the day, they failed math. They didn't go into the applied sciences. And they don't have a job in the science field. But they champion themselves a fan of science. But since they have no outlet for expressing their love of science, their ego, right here, their ego makes them express this love as fanboyism. And we see this a lot. And they turn science into the only thing they really do understand, which is religion. So they turn it into sciencism, right? So if they have no outlet for their need to do science, what you see is they become against someone, like anti-vaxxers, right? They take the position of being anti-vax. Now, their mistake is they confuse anti-vax with pro-science. But 2 wrongs don't make it right. Pro-science is different. See, pro-science is applied science. Applied science is the use of an intellect. Applied science, in this case, would be vaccines, getting a vaccination. So here's the difference. If my ego wanted me to convince all my friends that I'm smart and that I love science, an easy way to do that would be to be hateful. So I would jump on Facebook and I would blast anti-vaxxers, right? I'd be like, oh, look at me, how smart I am. I'm Mr. Atheist Logic. Look at me, I hate on these people. Look how stupid they are for not liking science, right? That's the ego using sciencism to try to convince my friends that I'm a smart person. Now, here's a better way to go about it. use the intellect to show people you use science. So what's a super easy way to actually practice applied science? Getting a vaccine. So take your vaccine card, right? Take your receipt, go to Facebook, and instead of hating on people for being stupid, take a more positive approach and show people that you practice science and encourage them to get a vaccine as well. Doesn't that make the world a better place? Instead of just continuing to spread hate? And let's get real. Science should be emotionless on this issue. When we hear people say, well, vaccine caused this, and vaccine did this, and my child this, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and all these things, as a scientist, a pro-science, applied science user of the intellect, what you should hear is, this person needs help. How can I help them? Let's research more what it is they're talking about. In the meantime, let's also help them and their children using science. And let's solve this problem. Here's how a fanboy of sciencism confronts this issue. They use the ego to spread hate, calling names, telling them they're stupid. Yeah, they'll say they're a fan of logic, right? But they won't go get a vaccine. Let that sink in. They say they're a fan of logic, but they won't go get a vaccine. Even if you're afraid, even if there's something wrong with vaccines, and we know it's possible to make bad vaccines. Let's get that clear. The government ships bad vaccines for use overseas in the third world all the time. If they don't meet American standards, we ship those bad boys overseas for resale to third world country. We know it's possible to make unsafe vaccines, right? But what was Spock's famous last words? Or so he thought, right? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one, right? So even if you were taking a chance on protecting the herd with a vaccine, what more penultimate example of the use of logic than Spock? And by his own words, using logic would lead you to get a vaccine, but that's not what people do. The ego, fanboy, scientism crowd, they never seem to go on Facebook and show people that they actually applied science, and instead they just spread hate. Right? So how about this year? Instead of hating on people and pretending to know a lot about science, how about you actually go apply science and put your money where your mouth is?